Daniels, I'm looking forward to this. Something different. He's the COO of the Atlanta Super Bowl 53rd host committee in that new stadium next year. He's done 1 million Final Fours. He worked for the Cowboys for a quarter of a century. He knows his way around a big event, and he says hello. Brett, welcome. Nice to talk to you, pal. How you doing? What do you learn? Now, Atlanta's had a Super Bowl. I was at it, the Tennessee game with St. Louis. Good game, bad weather, so that hurt the whole week with the ice and everything else. Can you learn anything? That's the last one you've had, is it not?
That is, yep. It's been that long, 19 years.
Yeah, people don't realize that. Can you learn anything? Is it too long ago? Super Bowl changed a lot with the amount of people. Can you learn anything from how you ran that one, how the city ran that 20 years ago?
Oh, definitely. And that went into the bid process right up front, 2015, when the team was putting this thing together. They talked about weather contingency plans. You know, you hope for the best, but you got to prepare for the worst. And they learned from that. And they learned from the storms here the last few years we've had through there, some of those ice, and how to handle it all.
All right, so the weather, they got to explain that. How about the actual putting the event together, assuming that weather is good? Is there anything they can pick up on they did wrong? And that was a rough Super Bowl, because that was also the Super Bowl with Ray Lewis. So that was a bad scenario.
A lot going on. Yeah.
A lot going on. That's right. Ray Lewis and that one. That was a mess. Yeah. So that happened the Saturday night, and the Monday after the game, nobody's talking about the great game. We're talking Ray Lewis.
Right.
So a lot happened to that Atlanta Super Bowl a few years ago. You know that?
Well, this thing has changed so much. I mean, you've been around it for years, and you've seen this thing evolve. You know, I don't know how much of the actual things that happened in the year 2000 when we last hosted apply now. This Radio Row has gotten massive. You know, the media coverage, the events that go into this, the entire 10 days leading up to it, the outdoor festival that's going on downtown here in Minneapolis. None of those things were happening, 19 years ago. So it's a whole new animal. We're excited to bring it to Atlanta, though. We got a great facility, great stadium set up, campus. We're going to love it.
Now, the NFL, Jim Steig used to be have a lot to do with this. Is it now in the host cities realm more than it is in the league as far as putting a game on and putting a whole week together?
No, the league still has an events department. Jim was a great one, did it for many years. I loved working with him back in the day. But no, they've still got an events department now that really has their hand into everything that's going on, from the teams to the events happening, the community relations stuff, press conferences, everything happening.
Who has the final say on tough calls? You, the CEO of the whole process, or somebody in the league office?
The league has everything related to the game and to the media operations, things of that nature. The host committee, we have the final say on some of the more fan-facing things, so the festivals, the music, the concerts, that kind of stuff. That's kind of falls into our realm.
It does. Very interesting. All right, do you learn anything when you put together a Super Bowl? Do you learn anything? Now, you're here now. Mm-hmm. Do you learn anything from the way Minnesota does it and tweak things? This is a new stadium. You have a new stadium. How much do you learn here for next year, this year?
Oh, you definitely pick up a lot of things here. You see what they're doing right, and you want to copy that and see how you can improve it. Take their best practices and tweak it, make it even better. We talk to people. You listen to what's happening with the fans, with what's happening with the hotels, the transportation people. You jump in an Uber and you talk to the guy, and hey, how's it going?
You got your hands in all those things just to make sure, just to get a little sense.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the experience that everybody has with the people, the Uber, the restaurants, the hotels, that's their memories. That's what they take back of the experience in Minneapolis or the experience in Atlanta next year. And that's what you want to have a good impact on that stuff.
Now, I would think, just as me, I would think that because of the weather, and Atlanta is a hip town, Minneapolis is not as well known, I would think that the fans coming to this game won't get here until Friday morning at the earliest. While coming to your city, there might be much more of a group coming in middle of the week. So that's a scenario you got to be prepared for. Is that accurate to say?
I would say so, yeah. I think there'll be a lot going on. The other thing that's impacting this one is the Olympics, something that people really haven't thought about sometimes. But a week from now, after the game, the Olympics kick off. And so people are kind of split and spread out there, too, as you're trying to entertain clients and guests and everything.
Yeah. The guests, clients,
guests, sponsors, all those types of people, hospitality folks, they got to pick and choose what they're doing there.
They can't do both necessarily, so they're either going to go to Korea or they're going to stay here for the game.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's a factor. I'll tell you one thing. This is me now, and I've been doing these radio rows for 100 years, as you know. When I first did this in 1980,
you and Marconi?
Well, not that long. When I did this in '89, there was no radio stations. I did this. My old partner and I, Mike and the Mad Dog, did San Francisco and Denver.
Yeah.
And we were at that New Orleans Hyatt. There was nobody there, but the two of us for 5 hours every day. Think about that for a minute. And it was 55-10.
Yeah.
Madden came on the radio one day and told us about this. Says, guys, come back to my hotel. We walked him back to the hotel. He put the big transmitter up, the TV, had his little little transmitter, whatever it's called, and he said, watch this. He showed this, he showed that, he showed this, he showed that. Denver doesn't have a chance. They can't stop this, they can't stop that. Final score 55-10. That's how kind of quaint it was.
Yeah.
It's not that way anymore. But the one thing I will say, and I know a lot of people are annoyed, they hate the Radio Row here. Now, I'm not in Radio Row. We got a little break. We're downstairs. You're talking to somebody who's up there all the time, who's been on all those radio stations a billion times. They don't want to do a radio show next to the Steak and Shake. I just don't want to do it.
It's a tight squeeze up there.
It's very tricky. So, will you learn from that perspective from Atlanta?
Yeah, definitely. Those are the kind of things we take back. We take notes, talk to the folks there. Talking to people last night, they had the media party here at the mall, and what they liked about that and what they didn't like.
The media party was a good party.
Yeah.
It was a good party.
And how do we replicate the stuff that they liked, and what do we need to do to make it give that Atlanta feel, that Atlanta theme to it? So, yeah, those are definitely things we take notes of.
Now, you got a convention center for the Radio Row next year.
Yeah, it'll be more like Houston, what you had there.
Which was a good one last year.
A lot of space, so there should be plenty of room for everybody to spread out over there.
Now, you got another issue in Atlanta, too. A lot of the happenings are in Buckhead. And downtown Atlanta is 20 minutes away, right? Roughly.
Yeah, a little bit of a gap there.
So that is, Houston, Indianapolis. Indianapolis was great. The media loved Indianapolis because everything is right in downtown, including the stadium.
Yeah.
In Buckhead, it's a little tricky. A lot of the nightlife's in Buckhead, and a lot of the stuff is going to be probably in downtown Atlanta. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much all of our activities will take place downtown. But you're right, Buckhead, you've got some major hotels up there and a lot of restaurants. But there'll be a real core of things downtown. So I think that's where everything will really be happening down there. Buckhead will be that secondary location.
Now, why has Media Day switched from the football stadium to the arena, which it has the last few years? How come?
Well, I think part of that's now that they've opened it up to the fans, bringing those fans in. I think it's just an operational security issue for the league.
Easier to do that than put them in a big stadium?
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the biggest reason why?
Yeah, that's a big part of it, is they get the stadium ready and the things that are happening going on there, the build-out, the auxiliary press areas and things of that nature. Just want to avoid taking things into the stadium.
Brett Daniels, of course, good to have him with us. He's going to run next year's Super Bowl in Atlanta. Now, they have a new one, and you have a new one. Like anything else, a stadium kind of knows how to handle itself. A little experience that can handle these big events. This is the first huge one where there's going to be 1 million people in and out of there. You got to make sure the escalators work and the bathrooms are flushed and all those kinds of things.
Yep.
You might be you've hosted some championship games in college, but the Super Bowl is a different scenario. How about both stadiums handling that? What can you tell me there?
I think the best thing the league does is they wait and bring a Super Bowl to a new stadium the second year it's open. Because what happens is that gives you a year to run the building like we just did in Atlanta, and then you can take this offseason to tweak and fix things that you've learned in that first year of operations that you need to fix going into year 2. Same thing happened here, year 1. Minnesota runs this building. They may make a few subtle changes behind the scenes that people don't know about to make things so much smoother year 2.
Interesting. Okay, what if I haven't been to yours? If this is the opening year of it, what did Brett Daniels learn about Mercedes-Benz Stadium this year that you can change and do a little differently for year 2? Well, I know Blank runs it, but you're involved in it. What do you think you can tell me?
One of the things they're looking to do, some of the concourse areas, they have what they call pinch points, where everybody comes together and you're trying to move a lot of people through a small space. So they're trying to find ways they can widen some of those openings, add some additional doors in some certain areas to get people in and out of the building quicker. That's kind of one of the big things.
Well, that's it. I learned something. So, and you don't know that until you put the stadium in operation.
Right. You design it, you estimate how many people are coming and going from different areas, but then you open the building and you run it for a season, and hey, you know what? Here's where the people gravitate toward. Some of the concession stands, they've moved, they've added menu items and things like that. When people line up and they see what the demand is, and then they can adjust accordingly.
All right, now, you had the championship game there this year, and it was 2 SEC teams. Now, the problem is Georgia's so close, maybe they didn't get to the stadium until the day of. Yeah. It's not Super Bowl level, but it's Alabama, Georgia in that stadium. How much does that help a stadium and a committee see how they can make a change or two for the Super Bowl the following year?
Oh, a tremendous help.
Oh, it does?
Yeah,
okay.
It's a huge help. One of the things we learned, the college football playoff folks do a lot of outdoor activities, and it's the week of January. You never know the weather. It can be nice.
And it was cold there January 9th in Atlanta. Raining in Atlanta. It was a rough night that night.
So that's one of the things you realize and prepare. Like, you know what? You need to have this stuff ready to go, rain or shine, hot or cold. How do you, the activities and things you do outside, how do you make that the fan-friendly regardless of the weather?
So that's okay. So what did Atlanta learn? So it rained not bad, January. Can you put a tent up? What can you do in that situation?
Well, there's some things like that. Yeah, you design things. You put more cover. You put things more inside rather than doing outdoor activities. Move things into some of the buildings around that. Those types of things. Not count on outside, or do you have to tent everything? Yeah,
that's late January next year, so the weather could be the same as it was on January 9th.
Yeah.
the amount of people, what do you see with people coming into a city? They usually come in on Friday morning. How do they handle that as far as the city is concerned for a Super Bowl game? Here, as I said, the weather, I think it's kept some people extra away.
Yeah.
When it's in Miami, they want to take they do it a little differently. L.A., when it goes to L.A., they do it a little differently.
Yeah.
What do you expect in Atlanta? Most of your folks will come Friday?
I think they'll come in that Wednesday, Thursday. I think we'll get a lot of people in there Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh, you
early
do?
in the week. Get it, a little bit longer, make a longer weekend out of it. So they'll come into town. We've got a lot of hotel rooms right downtown. We've got mass transit from the airport in. Everything's going to be downtown and walkable. So it's a very fan-friendly experience for those folks coming into the community there in Atlanta.
Do you have any control on the prices that hotels can charge?
Not really, no. That's kind of out of our control.
So if they want to go out there and charge extra for that Super Bowl weekend, you can't do anything about it?
Not really, no. We build room blocks with the NFL, part of the bid. So we set aside, room blocks for the network, for the media, for the visiting team, participating teams, those kind of things. So there are some room blocks built into it. But for the average fan, when you come in, you're at the mercy of the hotel. Yeah.
It's funny. We all know that if you build a stadium for a city, and Blank had some help, and he built that stadium in Minnesota, same thing, L.A.
Yep.
You got a really good heads-up chance to get a game. Miami rebuilt their stadium, so it's going to be down in Miami.
Yep.
But still, you got to sell the NFL. It's not a guarantee. So how did you go about? You got a huge committee. How long does that presentation last when you go talk to the league office as far as getting a game is concerned?
Oh, it was a 6-month process during the bid. Yeah.
Wow.
Ultimately you get to the owners' meetings and you make a final presentation. I think you get 10 or 12 minutes to pitch your ideas.
So you went to wherever it was, Palm Springs, California.
We had some folks from the Sports Council there in Atlanta. Dan Corso is the one that kind of led that push for us, and but he went up and kind of sold the city. Arthur is a part of that, as far as telling the story, and. You cross your fingers, but you got to lay out everything. I mean, it's not just the stadium. The stadium's obviously a key part of it, but you've got to have the infrastructure with the convention center and the arenas and the hotel rooms and the transportation and the budget to be able to fund it financially. So there's a lot that goes into it beyond just you got a stadium, but you still got to earn your.
How much money does it cost the city to put together a Super Bowl properly?
For us in Atlanta, it'll probably be in the $40 to $50 million range.
Now you're going to get that money back though when all the fans come in there. The city's going to get all that money back with all the influx of fans. Correct?
Well, that's just it. That's the story you tell, is that this is an economic engine for the city, and this is the kind of thing by investing in the stadium and by investing in the convention center,
you get these events.
You bring these things to town.
Yeah. Now I know in the NCAA, and you ran Final Fours, they always give you a regional before they give you a Final Four. The stadium gets the regional. Now I don't like the games. And the basketball fan don't like the games in a big stadium. It ruins very few times you get that really feel of a basketball game. But I understand that's the way of the world. You got to live with it. Yeah. Now, you said you got to have the stadium up for a year. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that can prepare that stadium for that kind of event on that day? Because, one thing, and I thought Dallas got killed with the Dallas thing. They had bad weather, too. Yeah. And that was a rough Super Bowl. The ticket issue, it was a mess. Yeah. If you have a bad day there, you got a bad game and a bad day, it is a disaster. People are going to be killing Atlanta for the rest of your life. So you got to be careful that you get that day done properly.
Yeah. I mean, you have to focus on the things you can control. There's things that are out of your control. We talked about the college football championship, the weather. You can't control the weather, but you do everything you can so that the weather isn't the reason why. It may be a discomfort, but it doesn't prevent anything from happening. You've got to take care of the things that you can control. You can't control what happens on the field for the game. You just want to make sure that the fans get in, they're safe, they have a great experience. If the outcome doesn't go the way they want, that's nothing you can control, but you're in charge of everything else. You mentioned the bathrooms flushing, the concession stands having food, the hot dogs are hot, and the cold drinks are cold.
Now, is this a full-time job doing this?
Yes. Yeah, full-time. It is for a couple of years now. Yeah.
Full-time. So you've been working on this for a couple of years.
It'll end up being a couple of years. Yeah, I've been on it for a year. We started in Houston last year.
So this is 5 days a week, busting your butt on top of this.
On top of it. Yep.
That's a long way, but it's a lot of work for one night. It's only 7 days, but it's not. It's a lot.
It is. Yeah.
That's 104 weeks to make sure the 1 week works properly.
Believe me, I have a lot of friends and neighbors who remind me of that all the time.
How many tickets does the host city get?
We get 750.
That's all you get is 750 seats.
Yeah.
Wow, and that's what's that building hold, about 75,000?
Yep, exactly.
So they only give you, and you use those seats the way you want to use them, correct?
Yeah, we use them. We work with corporate partners and everything to try to fundraise with that to help pay that tab that comes due.
40, 50 million. Now, how many tickets does the home team get?
That's based on a percentage.
About 15%,
and I'm not for sure.
something like that?
Yeah, there's a percentage so that break it down. Every team gets a certain percentage. The participating teams get a larger percentage, and then the host team gets a little bit.
What is the advantage of having the host team playing a game? Minnesota almost had that here. The Falcons are good. It never works. So watch Atlanta lose, be 6-10. But I mean, you get the idea. That is something that will make it. Does that make it harder or easier? The fact that a host team might get deep into the playoffs with a chance to be in the Super Bowl.
Planning wise, it makes it much more difficult. It's a lot harder because these things, they start building. The NFL moves in about a month out to start building out in the stadium, starting to do things. And if you've got to host a playoff game or even an NFC championship game, now you're only got 2 weeks to cram everything in, all the changes that have to happen to that building. So logistically, they can get it done, but it's certainly much more challenging.
Minnesota, I'm sure you talked to them. Were they rooting for the Vikings to win that game? Is it a better event with the Vikings there, or they wanted the Eagles to win to get Minnesota the heck out of there and not have to worry about home fans and all those kinds of things? What's your thoughts there?
I think once Philadelphia won and they knew they were hosting the championship game, I think from the NFL perspective, they wanted the best team and the best game. Having a home team in the game doesn't impact the operations and the construction at that point. There's some things that they would do. I think the way it's set up, the New England Patriots are actually practicing at the Vikings facility because who's the home team and the visiting team for the game this weekend. So I think they would have switched some of that so the Vikings could have used their facility, used their locker room, those kinds of things.
All right, so who's going to next year? The NFC's the home team, so if it's not Atlanta, they get the chance they can use the Falcons facility, correct?
Well, the NFL's still looking into that because the Falcons facility is almost an hour outside of downtown.
You can't go there.
And so they're talking about, do you want to use that facility or do you want to keep it in town? Georgia Tech, Georgia State downtown there. So they got a few options there in Atlanta that they're exploring.
Wow, this is fascinating. So if I want a ticket next year, I'm going to have to get a hold of you.
Maybe commissioner might be a better way to go.
You only got 750 of them. I'm not getting 4.
He may have more pull than I do.
Brett, I enjoyed every minute of it. Keep up the good work. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it today. Not in front of the hour. We continue here on Mad Dog Unleashed.